In the years leading up to the 1970s, the advertising landscape was primarily driven by general consumer goods, focusing on adults as the key demographic. Advertisers promoted a wide range of products, from household items to automobiles, often emphasizing functionality and practicality. However, as watching television became a common pastime for American families, the dynamics began to shift. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, television emerged as a powerful mass medium. Families often gathered around the TV set, creating a shared experience that advertisers quickly recognized as a unique opportunity to reach consumers. The growing number of television sets in American households laid the groundwork for a significant transformation in marketing strategies. By the 1960s, children's programs began to multiply, increasing the potential audience for products aimed specifically at younger viewers. This shift was not merely a reflection of changing consumer patterns, but also prompted a fundamental reevaluation of how advertisers approached children. Unlike adults, children have limited understanding of market motivations and often lack the critical skills to analyze advertisements. As a result, they became prime targets for advertisers looking to tap into this new and lucrative demographic. Initial studies on children's psychology and consumer behavior supported this change. Researchers began exploring how children process information and make purchasing decisions, revealing that children could be influenced significantly by the way products were presented to them. These studies indicated that children often have difficulty distinguishing between entertainment and advertising, making them particularly susceptible to persuasive messages. As the understanding of young consumer psychology deepened, advertisers took a more directed approach in crafting campaigns tailored to capture the imaginations of their target audience. The landscape evolved further in 1974 with the enactment of new regulations concerning children's advertising by the Federal Communications Commission, known as the FCC. This marked a critical turning point in marketing strategies aimed at children. The regulations sought to address concerns over the potential for manipulation and misinformation in advertising directed at younger audiences. The new rules focused on the integrity of advertising practices, ensuring that children were treated fairly and that the content was suitable for their development. This created a more structured environment for advertisers who could no longer operate without oversight, fundamentally altering how campaigns were designed and executed. At the same time, businesses recognized the potential for children as influencers of household purchases. Children, armed with their newfound purchasing power, began to express preferences for snacks, toys, and entertainment options, leading to greater emphasis on advertising during children's programming. Promotional tactics included catchy jingles, cartoon mascots, and engaging storylines, all designed to resonate with young viewers and cement brand loyalty at an early age. Advertisements gradually became an inseparable part of children's entertainment, blurring the lines between enjoyment and consumerism. As the 1970s progressed, advertising became increasingly sophisticated. Marketers were not only promoting products, but also embedding them into children's lives through entertainment and media experiences. This shift had profound implications, shaping childhood experiences and parental perceptions, as parents grappled with the influence of advertising on their children's desires and behavior. The groundwork laid during this era created an environment where children were viewed as essential consumers, setting the stage for the explosive growth of children's advertising in the following decades. As we journey through the mid-1970s to the early 1980s, a significant shift in the marketing landscape unfolded with the advent of targeted children's advertising. Networks recognized that Saturday mornings were a prime time for captivating young audiences, leading to the launch of iconic children's programming that would forever change advertising. Animated shows featuring beloved characters were strategically positioned to draw in children and, in the process, captivated the attention of advertisers eager to showcase their toys and products during these broadcasts. One prominent case study that illustrates this phenomenon is the rise of G.I. Joe and other action figures. These toys were not simply products. They were embedded within a narrative framework that captured children's imaginations. Advertisements featured storytelling elements that positioned G.I. Joe as a heroic figure engaged in daring adventures, instantly appealing to young viewers' desires for action and excitement. This narrative-driven advertising effectively targeted children directly, fostering a deep connection between the characters and the products they represented. The success of such campaigns underscored a broader trend during this era: the rise of serial advertisements, particularly those featured during Saturday morning cartoons. Oversized mascots such as Tony the Tiger and Snap, Crackle, and Pop became household names, their catchy jingles embedding themselves in children's minds. These advertisements not only promoted specific brands, but also cultivated a sense of brand loyalty among young consumers. Children began to associate certain cereals with joyous experiences, and as a result, parents often found themselves reaching for products their kids recognized and desired, regardless of nutrition. However, with this surge in children's advertising came an increasing wave of scrutiny. Parental advocacy groups began voicing their concerns about the impact of these targeted marketing strategies. Numerous studies indicated that children, especially those under the age of 8, often struggled to differentiate between entertainment and advertising. Critics argued that children were being manipulated into forming opinions about products before they had the cognitive ability to critically analyze the messages being conveyed to them. The complaints coming from various advocacy groups led to intensified public discourse around the ethics of advertising to children. In response to this growing concern, the Federal Communications Commission implemented new regulations in an attempt to protect young viewers from potentially exploitative advertising practices. These guidelines sought to ensure that ads directed at children adhered to ethical standards, pushing for more transparent advertising tactics. Yet, even as regulations tightened, the unchecked creativity of marketers only found new avenues to engage their youthful audiences. As the market expanded, it wasn't just television playing a pivotal role. The growth of toy conventions and trade shows allowed companies to present their new products directly to children, further blurring the lines between advertising and entertainment. Such conventions created interactive spaces where children could experience the toys before they made it to television screens, establishing an emotional connection before they even hit the shelves. The implications of targeted advertising during this period were profound, altering the way children interacted with media and how parents perceived their influence. As we look back at this transformative era, we begin to understand the roots of contemporary debates regarding children's media consumption, discussions that have only intensified in light of digital trends today. These historical shifts are essential to consider, especially as we grapple with issues of child welfare in an increasingly digital world where social media regulation and the mental health implications are at the forefront of public concern. By the early 1980s, the influence of children on family purchasing decisions had reached unprecedented levels. Surveys conducted during this time revealed that children were not merely passive recipients of advertisements. They were active participants in the buying process. One notable study indicated that children influenced up to 40% of family spending, particularly in categories such as snacks, toys, and games. This shift marked a significant change in the dynamics of consumerism within the household, with children becoming key stakeholders in decisions that were traditionally reserved for adults. As children's power as consumers grew, so did parental concerns regarding the implications of targeted advertising. Many parents began expressing anxiety about the potential negative effects of advertising on their children's health and values. A significant focus of these concerns was the rise in childhood obesity, which many attributed to the aggressive marketing of sugary snacks and fast foods aimed at young audiences. The prevalence of commercials during children's programming often featured vibrant and appealing presentations of unhealthy food options, leading to worries about how these marketing strategies could shape dietary habits and lifestyle choices. The mounting evidence of the impact of advertising on children's desires also garnered attention from academics and researchers. Studies during this period explored the correlation between the amount of advertising children were exposed to and their requests for specific toys and branded products. One pivotal study highlighted that children could recognize and identify products they had seen advertised, sometimes even naming specific brands before they could read. This phenomenon further underlined the efficacy of targeted marketing strategies that not only aimed to sell products, but also sought to create brand loyalty from a young age. Amidst these developments, the term pester power emerged to describe a growing phenomenon where children actively lobbied their parents to purchase items they saw advertised. Data from surveys indicated that children often initiated discussions about products they wanted, sometimes using persuasive tactics to influence their parents' purchasing decisions. This pestering was backed by an emotional appeal that capitalized on the desire for approval and love from their children, making it increasingly difficult for parents to resist the pleas for the latest toy or snack featured in commercials. The societal implications of this pester power extended beyond mere consumer habits. It initiated a cultural shift in the way children and parents interacted concerning money and material goods. Parents began to feel pressured to keep up with their children's demands, leading to a sense of inadequacy or guilt if they were unable to fulfill these requests. This, in turn, contributed to a growing materialistic ethos that suggested happiness could be found in the accumulation of products, a notion that many parents struggled to reconcile with their values. In summary, the early 1980s witnessed a dramatic transformation in both the role of children as consumers and the resulting effects on parenting. The rise in children's advertising led to a significant examination of family dynamics, health concerns, and the ethics of marketing to young audiences. As society grappled with these changes, it became increasingly clear that understanding the landscape of children's media consumption was vital for fostering a healthier environment, one that would continue to evolve in the face of advancing technology and social media in the decades to come. By the late 1980s, the landscape of children's advertisements had undergone a monumental transformation, significantly influenced by the advent of cable television. The introduction of cable in homes across America led to the explosion of children's programming options, with networks like Nickelodeon and the Disney Channel emerging as key players in the market. This shift meant that advertisers had more targeted platforms to reach young audiences, changing the advertising strategies employed and broadening the reach of their campaigns. With dedicated children's channels, companies could create content specifically tailored for children, allowing for more engaged and impactful marketing. During this decade, marketers began to implement more sophisticated techniques, using vibrant visuals, catchy jingles, and relatable characters to grab children's attention. This was also the era when brand loyalty began to take root at a much younger age, as children were exposed to specific brands repeatedly, nurturing lasting attachments even before reaching adolescence. Through playful representations, marketers engaged not just the minds of children, but also their emotions, anchoring products in their formative experiences. In 1990, a landmark event took place that would have far-reaching implications on how children were advertised to: the Children's Television Act. This legislation aimed to regulate children's advertising by mandating that television stations provide educational and informational programming for children. It sought to limit the amount of commercial content aired during children's shows, thus addressing growing concerns from parents and advocacy groups about the potential negative impacts of excessive advertising and the commercialization of childhood. The act represented a significant acknowledgement of the power of advertising and the need for a response from government entities to protect young viewers from exploitative marketing tactics. These changes spurred important reflections on the broader societal implications of children's advertising and its influence on childhood experiences and expectations. The competition for children's attention resulted not only in more aggressive marketing tactics, but also in the cultivation of brand-centric lifestyles, where childhood became intertwined with consumerism. As children aspired to own the latest toys, video games, or stylish clothing often promoted through television, parents faced increasing pressure to fulfill these desires, ushering in a new climate of family dynamics centered around consumption. Moreover, the long-term effects of this intensified advertising culture extended well beyond the 1980s. Shifts in childhood experiences began to normalize consumerism at early ages, leading to the development of expectations centered around ownership and social validation via material goods. The idea of pest or power evolved from a mere annoyance into a significant factor influencing household purchasing dynamics, changing the narrative around how families navigated financial discussions and priorities. The ongoing debate regarding children's advertising ethics also took shape during this period. As parents became more aware of the implications of marketing strategies on their children's health and well-being, the conversation surrounding responsible advertising practices began to gain traction. Critics have since called for more robust regulations and ethical considerations in marketing aimed at minors, seeking to protect vulnerable audiences from harmful stereotypes and unhealthy consumer habits. In examining this historical context, we can better understand the parallels that exist today in our digital age. Many of the conversations about social media's impact on children echo the concerns that emerged during the transition from traditional to targeted advertising in the late 20th century. The legacy of these changes continues to shape the landscape of children's media consumption and raises pressing questions about the ethical responsibilities of marketers and the well-being of younger generations.